Of the chamber, and I will be your moderator this evening. And to my right, sitting to my right, Mr. Ron Zurich is our timekeeper this evening. Okay, so we have a tight agenda. I'm going to do my best to keep it on the timeline. So bear with me, and we'll get started here. We start with introductions of the candidates, and I ask that you please hold your applause until after I've introduced all the candidates. So we have Mr. Joe Baca Jr. for City Council, Mr. Joseph Joe Britt, Mr. Ed Scott, and Lynn Hirtz. Give them a welcome. Okay, and before we get started now, I would ask that you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. We have refreshments over here. Bathrooms are directly behind us here, and additional bathrooms to the south. Correct? Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think that's correct. Okay. So, just to so the candidates will start with opening statements. They're seated in alphabetical order, but they will open their statements based on how they're listed on the sample ballot. So our first person up is Ms. Lynn.
So first, thank you. I'm not on.
You're on.
I'm not.
Did you push the button up?
No.
Okay, I'm using my minutes. Oh, here we go. Okay. Thank you to the Women's Club and the Chamber of Commerce for bringing us together so that we can, as a group, answer the questions that the community has for each of us. So I joined the council in January of 2013, and we were in a $11 million deficit situation. June 30th, 2014, we have a balanced budget, cash balanced budget. So how did we get there? We reviewed our attorney's contract. We reviewed several of our attorney's contracts. We eliminated many attorneys. We changed our main city attorney. We saved approximately $750,000 from that one act. We reviewed all city contracts. Some contracts had been renewing for 10, maybe 15 years. Renewed every year. And am I giving 2 minutes or 1 minute?
1 minute.
Oh.
I'm sorry, we said it too. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I didn't tell you. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Anyway, we renewed the contracts. They used to self-renew with an increase without anybody seeing if they were actually being fulfilled to the quality that we required. The city employees gave up benefits and money so that they could help us to balance the budget. We brought in approximately $13 million in grants. Not that that's something that you work a regular budget on, but it helps you to get through the tough times and to do the extra things. The citizens have been kind enough to give us the utility users tax for 5 years, which has helped us make it through. What do we have in the future? Walmart right across the street will be opening in October 2015, according to Walmart. We have the In-N-Out, finally, opening with, someone shares my love. Also up there will be a Chipotle, Wingstop, Yogurtland, and Jersey Mike's, and then 2 other little places. Pepper Avenue, the extension, it'll be hooking up to the 210 freeway approximately February of 2016. Be some opportunities for some industrial development there. And our jewel of Rialto is the airport that we've closed, Renaissance Rialto. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Ed Scott. I've previously served on the City Council from 1996 to 2000, and then again from 2004 up until 2 years ago. I'm running for City Council again this year because I'd like to continue some of the projects that I had previously worked on and continue some of the goals for a better community. I've lived in Rialto for 25 years. I've owned a business in this city for 20 years. I have a family of 4 children now, my wife, and I love Rialto. I want to keep Rialto moving. One of my reasons for running is business retention and job creation. I'm a small business owner in this city, as is Councilmember Hirtz. We both know how hard it is for a small business to struggle, especially in times like we have now. And the economy, while it may be good in other places in the country, it's really not that good in California, and it certainly isn't that great in Rialto. So one of the things that I would work on would be business retention, job creation, and bringing in new businesses. Big business is okay, big business is good. Sometimes it takes a long time to get big business in here. As many of you know, the Walmart that is just about ready to start construction, that project's been on the books for over 12 years. It was approved by a city council that's not even seated right now. And it's taken that long to get it built. Rialto Renaissance has been on the books for probably about 8 years. And again, it's taken a long time for it to get off and started. And now we may not even get the Target store that the city had been promised. Hopefully, whether it's Target or somebody else, the developers will bring in a large box business up there that will draw in restaurants, other stores and stuff that we need. So I ask for your vote on November the 4th. Ed Scott, thank you.
Good citizens of Rialto, my name is Joe Britt. Glad to see you out. I'm glad to see you're in this particular process of getting the best person to help run the city of Rialto. My name is Joe Britt. I am your city commissioner. I've been your commissioner for the last 20 years. Currently, I am the chairman of the board for Rialto's Park and Recs Commission. The reason why I'm running here today, I believe a man or a woman with the right tools and the right expertise and the right focus can run Rialto, could push Rialto to the forefront, can make Rialto the jewel of the Inland Empire. But I know it takes a joint effort. I have been working diligently for you, the citizens of Rialto, for 25 years. I have been an activist, and I have been on the outside, a good steward, making and trying to make the right decisions and pass them on to the city council. I think the city council members, individuals, are together, should be good stewards of their money, should know how to handle your money, should know how to look in the future, 10 to 15 years down the road, and make good, decisive decisions now, so that later you and your families can reap the benefits of their decisions. Let me be the person that you need to run Rialto. One of the persons. Let me be the person that will help the community be a better community for you. I pledge to you that I will do my best. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Women's Club and the Chamber for hosting this event. I want to welcome, potential colleagues or people here on the dais. I want to wish them good luck to everyone here on the dais. I'd like to introduce my wife, Jennifer Baca, and my daughter, Jocelyn, who've been very supportive with me. It's an honor to have them. But I want to tell you about myself, Joe Baca Jr. I've lived in the city of Rialto 36 years. I'm a public school teacher. I've been on the council for 8 years now. I want to talk about Rialto as we move forward. We've had a chance to endure tough times and survive tough times. You look at the city of Rialto, we're one of the most financially sound cities in the Inland Empire. You look at our reserve, we're at a $31 million reserve. But at the same time, I look back, is Rialto better than it was 8 years ago? Absolutely. I look at the progress. I look at the super center across the street. I look at how we had to move the fire station in order to allow the in and out and those other amenities to come in. I look at our park development, Ferguson Park, we've increased Ferguson Park, we put outdoor stations, we've done the fitness center. Those are amenities that are better for our families. I want Rialto to be a good place to raise a family. And in regards to the airport, I think that's good we shut it down, but I think at some point in time, we gotta hold those developers feet to the fire. Because at some point in time, we have to look, is this the best we can do for Rialto? Is this what Rialto deserves, or do we deserve better? I believe we deserve better. I believe we need to hold their feet to the fire, bring the amenities, because one of the biggest complaints, because I listen to constituents, and the biggest complaint is we don't have sit-down restaurants. We don't have places to go and shop. Many of us take our tax dollars outside of this city. I want our tax dollars sitting here. I want our people shopping here. I don't want them going to Rancho Cucamonga or Fontana. I think that's important. We retain those people, get them here. And there's good people in this city. The thing I want to talk about is crime reduction. You know, we started the Pride Platoon along with Chief Kling, who was here, to make sure that juveniles have an opportunity to get an education, to make sure we deal with at-risk kids. Those are important amenities that we've done for our families, for our people. We've reduced crime. We've got a great police department. We've got a great fire department who did a great job. Service time has gone down. We even had the SAFER grant. We've added at first we had 12 firefighters, 9 more firefighters on the street with federal funds. And once again, it's an honor to be here. I want to thank you for giving me 8 years to serve on the council, and I'll be honored to serve another 4 years. Thank you.
Start with the round of questions. Your agenda originally said you had 1 minute. Since we have additional time, we'll let you run to 2 minutes. Okay, first question, and again, we'll continue in the same order. Ms. Lynn Hirtz, the first question is, if elected, what will be your top priority?
What will be my top priority? The top priority will be exactly what Councilmember Baca touched on, to make sure that the Renaissance is in fact a jewel that will make people, draw people to Rialto, make Rialto citizens proud, but also will be a place that attracts outsiders. It's important that we have the ability to say no and that we not settle for less. We had an offer when we were pushing with some developers that, oh, well, they could bring a mini market and a gas station up there right away. No, we don't need any mini markets or gas stations. We need real businesses. And there are real businesses who are excited and eager to come here. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to attend a business development conference in San Diego, representing the city. And I'm telling you, people were coming to our booth and saying, we have to do a project in Rialto. That is exciting for Rialto. We're not out there having to say, oh, please, couldn't you just give us 5 minutes to give this pitch to you? No, they're asking us to bring development. I have a person that wants to bring a movie theater up there, and that gentleman has actually called me from Boston 3 times now since I've been back from that conference. He's in touch with Lewis Hillwood, who are the developers out there, and he is eager to bring a Cinemark theater out there with all reclining chairs, and they have a philosophy of a lower entrance fee so that you get in there and of course buy the overpriced popcorn, but at least you get in the door for less money. So things are turning around for Rialto, and it's very exciting. Do we still have problems? You bet. We have a lot of roads that need to be fixed because we put that off for so long. We appreciate that. We have a survey of the roads done. We have them now calendared. We know which ones need attention first, and we're committed to making that happen. We have some sewer updates that we need to do that we've been mandated by the state. We're committed to doing that. So yes, we need more jobs, but I am eager to bring Rialto to a new level, and I'm committed to doing that, and I have the strength to say no when no is the answer. Thank you.
Question, if elected, what will be your top priority?
My top priority, again, would be bringing in business and job retention and business retention. I think that's primary to the residents of the city. As to the Renaissance project, I echo many of the sentiments that Councilmember Hirtz has already touched on. However, I do believe that the project, as it currently is proposed, needs to be relooked at. I don't think bringing big box warehouses into the city is a good thing to do. It does nothing but benefit the developer. It gives him a portfolio, it gives him a cash flow base, and I think the city needs to relook at that project and look at going back to the original plan, which included much more housing, much more retail, stuff that this community wants and stuff that this community needs. Additionally, one of my focuses would be enhancement of our current law enforcement. And what I mean is enhancement to a point where law enforcement and our schools start working together. We as a community have a huge problem, and it's not only Rialto, it's not only San Bernardino County, it's not only California, it's really the United States of America. But we have a huge problem with our youth and their relationship with law enforcement, their relationship with schools, and their relationship with parents. And I would like to see us work more on building and working with kids to help them become more responsible in our communities. I'd like to see stuff happen in Rialto that would want to make kids stay in Rialto, live in Rialto, work in Rialto, and have their kids grow up in Rialto. I think we need to look at bringing some kind of a educational institution in the city. Perhaps up at the Renaissance might be a good spot. But we need to focus on families in this community and our children. That's the most important asset that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Okay, Mr. Britt. If elected, what will be your top priorities?
You know, as a business person, as one who's been in Rialto for 25 years, jobs has always been on the top of the list. To bring jobs in, to bring medium to large businesses, retail, and if we can do manufacturing here, I know we're running out of land, but nevertheless, we need to put jobs here, put our people to work. For people who get to work in Rialto, I'm thinking Rialto should be, the citizens of Rialto should be the first to be hired with a living wage. $9, $8 an hour is not going to do it. So that's one of my top priorities, would be to get with the council members here, thinking out of the box and bringing quality jobs to the city of Rialto that will pay a living wage so that our citizens can buy the homes in Rialto. If they buy the homes, they can participate in the taxes that would help run the city. Next would be keeping the city strong financially. I call it economic stability, making sure that we're on the right path, making sure that we will be the good stewards of your money. People work hard in Rialto, and to come home into an atmosphere where it's not conducive, it's not good at all, we have to have places so they can spend their money in Rialto. I call this the velocity of money. The money can rotate 6 or 7 times in the city of Rialto. That means the bread man, the milkman, everybody gets paid. Everybody can eat off that same bone, if there's meat on the bone, of course. I want to create an atmosphere so that the citizens of Rialto would have the life that they want. I want to create an atmosphere so that the seniors will live out their golden years in Rialto without having to scrape and get by and live the life they should have lived or they want to live in Rialto. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Baca, if elected, what will be your top priorities?
And thank you, Mr. Carrillo, for that question. I think there's, I think 4 major priorities in my opinion. One's economic development, 2's public safety, 3's, I think, fiscal responsibility, which should be a given, and the last one is obviously amenities for our residents. In regards to economic development, the airport is very, very vital to our community. We only have 2 big pieces of land in Rialto, the airport and the Lyle development next to the golf course. Those ones we have to get done right. Once those decisions are made by this council, we cannot do a whole lot. The rest will be infill projects. And what I mean by infill is small little areas and pockets we can fill in. But those are important that we do it for jobs. I think we have to look at potentially a project labor agreement. And what that means is allowing our Rialto residents to get the construction jobs or the local people get those jobs. That's very, very important. We need to have those discussions. In regards to amenities, we need to make sure that we have the places to shop, the places to eat, the right mix, and look at some potential housing in that there. Because what we need is to have housing to support that economic development. We don't need people north of the 210 shopping in other areas. We need them shopping in Rialto. Public safety is very, very important. We need to continue to support our police and firefighters, make sure that residents feel safe. And then we've developed those partnerships with the school district. I think the In the past, the relationships were a little bit splintered. I think we need to rekindle those relationships. People live in cities or go to school in cities for a couple of reasons: test scores and good athletics. We need to work to support those things by providing literacy and working with our districts to help out with that. And they want to feel safe in the school. Fiscal responsibility, we got a good reserve, we got to continue to watch and manage our dollars and make sure that we, spend responsibly. But at the same time, we need to invest in some of our amenities. We need to do some of the things that other cities have done: Fontana, Ranch Cucamonga, Orange County. Our people deserve good things, and I don't think we should cut them short just because the Rialto people, oh, it's just Rialto. No, we need to stand up for them. I need to make sure that we give them what they deserve: nice parks, nice amenities. We got the Rails to Trails coming in, which is going to be a nice amenity for our families. Those are the types of things we need to continue to support, and I will always support those as long as I'm on the council. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Next question, and we'll start with Mr. Scott. And we'll see that right. Okay, the question is, what are your thoughts on the failed water deal and the fact that ratepayers pay? There you go. Did you cut me off purposely? Must pay increases, but Viola isn't obligated to deliver on the CIP. You get it? Would you like me to repeat it?
I've got you. As many of you know that know me and know me when I was on the council when the water deal came about, Veolia clearly wasn't my first choice as an operator. Originally it was American Water, and then it later became West Valley. And West Valley was fully capable of operating our water system, but it just didn't happen that way. As to what's going on right now, I think the city council needs to look at the water rates. I especially think they need to look at the fees being charged on these bills. Late fees, other hidden fees that seem to be there. I think the city council needs to take a good look at that. They should set up a committee. They should be meeting with Table Rock, because it's really not Veolia, it's Table Rock. Table Rock is who the water system was leased to. As to the capital improvement projects not being carried through, that's a failure of Veolia. Table Rock should be held accountable, responsible, and made to do what they agreed to do. And if they cannot do it, then they should be replaced. But there again, this comes down to the city council taking a strong, united, unified stand and making that happen. And I know the council's had some workshops and some meetings, and I appreciate what they've done, and I support what they've done, but they need to take a tough stand with Veolia and require them to produce. And if they can't produce, then they should hold Table Rock accountable and remove Table Rock and Veolia.
Mr. Britt, same question. What are your thoughts on the failed water deal and the fact that ratepayers must pay increases, but Veolia isn't obligated to deliver on the CIP?
Well, most of you know or you don't know, when the American Water came to town, I was one who was fighting adamantly against them. It wasn't American Water per se, it was the numbers that I didn't like. And I saw this coming. I don't have no Ouija board or anything, but I did see this coming, and the citizens spoke. And we raised 6,814 signatures to fight that proposal. But nevertheless, they're not here anymore. Veolia is in charge, and their contracts, they're going to have to get off the dime and do what we want them to do. And if they can't live up to their contract, they have to be replaced, just like that. It's just a business model. It's not anything personal, it's a business model. We're here to make sure your money goes in the right spots and make sure that you're not overcharged. And as we walk in the streets, I've talked to citizens, and they're getting gouged by these late fees. But that's part of the process, and I wish at the time that council would have had more forethought and thought about this, that it was coming down the pipe. I saw it coming, and I'm only an advisor on the outside. But nevertheless, if you have a contract, which they do, and if they can't live up to the contract, which they have not, replace them, point blank, replace them. But then again, it depends on what kind of contract they're into, and how the contract is worded. Is it worded for the citizens, or is it worded that nevertheless they will get paid coming and going? So that's going to have to be looked at, and hopefully we can make it, as council people can make the right decisions for the citizens of Rialto. Thank you.
Baca, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I got the question, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. Originally, I voted against the increase. Not that we didn't need to increase at some point in time, because we do need the infrastructure, but I just didn't think the way it was laid out was correct. So I was opposed to it, voted against it, was adamantly against it. But now that it's here, we're gonna have to deal with it. I think that's important that we do hold the Veolia's feet to the fire. And here's the problem, construction rates are going up in regards to the CIP projects. So we have to move on it expeditiously. We need to create timelines for Veolia. If they don't meet those timelines, then we have to look at breach of contract and then potentially looking at others. The other thing we have to do is, of those CIPs, what becomes a priority for the council? And clearly, any type of cleanup is number one, and that's an important issue. The other issue that I've got a lot of complaints about has been the billing. Inconsistencies on the dates of billing. Some of the things that aren't offered is I talked to some seniors this weekend, and one of the issues was they don't offer a senior discount on the sewer rate, which I believe we should offer discount rates for the sewage. So I think that's important that we have those discussions and look at these fees and make sure that they're fair to the residents. And at the same time, we have to keep the commitment to the residents. As they're going up, the commitment was that CIP was gonna be done, and a lot of things were gonna be done. If they aren't, then we need to be held accountable, make sure that we push them and address Veolia. Veolia's got a timeline, we're giving them deadlines. If they don't meet those deadlines, clearly I don't have a problem putting the contract out for bid and finding those that can deal with it. But it's clearly an issue that we gotta deal with. It's here and now. But I was originally opposed to the rapid increase of rates, because remember, we got a lot of people here that are on fixed income, and it's very tough for them to try to deal with these large increases in rates. But it's a problem, we need to deal with it, and I believe we're going to address it in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't want to waste time talking about what the former council should have done or did do or didn't do the way I thought they should have. I spoke against the contract at the time that they were in consideration of it. So now what we have to do now is figure out how we can make that work the best for the citizens. And in fact, we have had our attorney review that. And unfortunately, in the 1,100 or 1,700 pages of that contract, there is no recourse if they do not fulfill the projects which were listed as part of the contract. So we are dealing with Table Rock. That is who we have a contract with. Veolia works for Table Rock. So we have been meeting regularly with Table Rock. They understand that we are not happy. We finally, after the year and a half, the short year and a half that I've been on the council, we agreed to proceed with replacing some of the old water meters. Took us a year and a half to get this done. So we are trying to keep the pressure on. Unfortunately, we're like 30 years committed to them. So it is vital that we meet with them regularly, that we put the pressure on as we can, but honestly, there are no legal avenues of recourse according to our attorney's review of that contract. So do I like the fact that our water rates have doubled twice? No. The sewer rate also? No. I guess the only thing the positive response to that is we ignored maintenance on our sewer and water lines for too long. And so here we are, desperate with no money and desperate with a mandated sewer update from the state that we had no money to do. So we're doing the best job that we can with an ugly situation to work with.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Britt. You have 2 minutes. And this question is for all candidates. But Bender Park, when will it be the jewel like the citizens of this community deserve?
When we finish it. I'm the chairman of the Park Works Commission, and we have been working on this project for some time now. We've started with a 2 million budget, and then it jumped up to 2.8, 2.8, and it jumped up to 3.5. So, as I was told, it's out to bid now at 2 million. And hopefully we can give the citizens the amenities that we can afford at that particular park. So when will it be the jewel? It will be the jewel when it's finished. The plans are absolutely gorgeous. I'm excited about the project, but we have to stay within budget on this particular project. We cannot go over. So as long as we can stay within the budget and the contractors can come in and give us what we want for that part of town, we can make this particular park one of the better parks in the Inland Empire. Thank you.
Mr. Baca.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. You touched a chord. That's a passion of mine. In regards to the Bud Bender Park, one of the things we've actually been working on it for 8 years. It started at Old Rialto Middle School, got moved over to Bud Bender. Bud Bender is a very old park. It goes back to the 1950s. It's old, outdated. It's unsafe. It's, to me, embarrassing the condition it is. And one of the things that's very passionate about me is we got a lot of poor people that live in that neighborhood, in that community. And just because they're poor, you know what, they deserve just as much as everybody else. We shouldn't shortchange them. Now, in regards to being under budget, I think that's important that, we're responsible, but at the same time, we have to invest in our families. We have to invest in these kids. These kids need people to know that they care about them. That part of the community needs to know that they care about them. And just because they're poor and don't have a voice, they don't have a voice at all. Maybe they don't vote, and that's not important to me. The fact that that's in Rialto, that's part of our community, because we don't run as districts or wards, we're at large. So we have a duty and responsibility for the entire city. When we took this oath, it's under the Constitution, equal protection under the law. And I think that's important, that we protect those people in that community. And whether it's baseball, it's not just gonna be baseball. It's gonna be a community garden for seniors and people in that neighborhood to use. It's gonna be new playgrounds for kids. We want people to stay in Rialto. We need to tell people, look, we want you to stay here because we're doing good things for you. We can't continue to look the other way. And yeah, it costs us a little more because of the electrical and the sprinkler. You have unsafe conditions with a busted snack bar. You have the poles that are wooden poles that if the wind and the erosion comes, those poles can fall down and potentially hurt someone. You have unlighted areas where there's sometimes drug and alcohol use and parties. Those things we're going to address. We're going to add lights, we're going to add more amenities, and the residents of this city deserve that. At the same time, we were able to obtain a grant by the Los Angeles Dodgers for $50,000 that will bring a new scoreboard and new amenities for the citizens of Rialto. And that's important that we follow through and keep our commitment, because we committed this thing would be started by July. We need to keep that commitment and follow through with this. Thank you.
I too support Bud Bender Park. I support all the parks in our community. I've never been involved in making a decision on a park based on the socioeconomic statistics for the people living around the park. Every park in Rialto is important. Bud Bender is especially important because it's one of the older parks. It's way past its time for some refurbishing and some updating of it. I agree with that. I also agree that we need to be fiscally responsible. We cannot just spend an extra $1.5 million that came up from, I'm not sure yet where it came from because we don't have our formal bids back. But we can't just say, okay, spend that $1 million. That's how we got to where we were a year and a half ago. We cannot return to that if you want this community to blossom and become the kind of community that you're proud to live in, and I'm proud to continue to live in and grow my business. So yes, I support that park. It's out to bid right now. I'm excited about it. I was so impressed that Councilmember Baca was able to get that grant from the Dodgers for us. How exciting is that to have that great scoreboard where I think we're the first park in the, I believe that he said in the Inland Empire to have that grant. So kudos to him for achieving that for us. So yes, I support the park. Yes, it's going to be a jewel for Rialto, but yes, we still have to watch our money when we do the improvements there.
Bud Binder Park is another one of those projects that has been on the books for a while. And I know it has changed some since 2 years ago. But I believe that it's a park that needs some work, as do a lot of our parks in our city. I think there's, other than streets that get neglected in this city, I think there's only one other thing that gets neglected more, and that's our parks. And that takes me back around to our kids and our children and needing things to do, and for families to be able to be families in our city. Parks are very important. I think there should be comprehensive plans done by the City Council in conjunction with the Parks and Rec Commission, and focus on parks and get them up to the standards they need to be. I live by Andresen Park. It's a very small park. It's not very well kept up. The bathrooms, most people would never go into, and they certainly wouldn't let their children go into them. And a lot of our parks are in that condition. And I applaud Councilmember Baca for his passion about parks. He's had that passion for a long time. And I think the rest of us need to have that same passion. We've got to find ways to pay for those things and ways to live within our budget. That's very clear. We can't compromise law enforcement. We can't compromise streets, but we need to find ways to take care of those parks. One of the things that I had proposed when I was on the council was that the $30 million that was that came from the water deal, that a portion of that was used for that type of infrastructure. That didn't happen. It all went to the Renaissance Project. We have to take care of our parks. We have to take care of our families, and we should want our families to be in the parks, and more than anything, be safe.
Thank you. Going back just briefly to the previous question, this card is addressed specifically to Mr. Baca, but I think it's something that to be answered. They're just asking for a clarification of what you guys are saying. CIP, what is that? And I think Mr. Scott specifically indicated what CIP stood for, and that was Capital Improvement Plan. Okay. And then I'll reserve the second part of the question for later. Okay, and then next up is Mr. Baca. And next question here is, what have you done for the city of Rialto, and why should we elect you?
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo, for that question. I brought up earlier, is Rialto better than it was 8 years ago? I mean, let's look at the outdoor racket fitness center that's been improved. Let's look at the outdoor fitness center. Let's look at the budget. Let's look at the Walmart development. Let's look at In-N-Out. Let's look at the potential development that's coming in. Let's look at the Chevron station that's going across at the 210. Let's look at Ferguson Park. Let's look at the bus shelters. All those things were not here 8 years ago. Those are things that I feel very proud of, whether you agree with them, disagree, but it's moving this city forward. It's getting this city to a position where we now have respectability and having a good law enforcement. We've given our law enforcement all the tools they need to be successful. At some point in time, we're gonna have to raise our staffing for police and fire, but I look at the growth and improvement and everything we've done. We've got 2 telecom senior centers. So now we have affordable housing for our seniors on Foothill, Bloomington Avenue. Those things were not here before. That's what you call vision. That's what you call moving the city forward. We didn't have the old police station back when, the fire station from the 1960s there on Easton and Riverside. We had the vision and foresight to demo that and move it right there on Riverside Avenue. So we have a nicer facility for our firefighters, a safer facility. At the same time, we've had economic development. So we're slowly getting better. We're getting out of the, we've gotten out of the red, we're moving forward. Sales tax is slowly increasing, but we're not done. We gotta continue to make progress. We gotta continue with this Bud Binder Park and invest and do it responsibly, but at the same time, continue to find dollars, continue to find grants to make sure that we do everything we need. So I look at, has Rialto improved from 8 years ago? Absolutely, and let me tell you what, the leadership many years ago, we're still dealing with that. You know, we've cleaned up. Jackson's got a better reputation than it had before. It was notorious at one time for being gang infested. It's improved. So you look at the progress that we've made. You know, you've seen a lot of times where there was just chaos at council meetings. We've had more stability. I feel that this city has more stability than it's ever had, and it's continuing to make smart moves and moving forward, and let's keep going in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, of course, I don't have the 8-year history that Councilmember Baca has, but in the last year and a half, we've gone from an $11 million deficit to a cash balance budget. We have an opportunity to bring lots of exciting economic development projects into Rialto. Not that that's my personal responsibility, but I was there to work towards a united front. Communities around us, developers around us, they look at how the council interacts as a body. We put forth a united front. We don't always agree 100% on everything, but we share some common goals. We know the importance of the Renaissance Center. We know the importance of bringing jobs to Rialto. We know the importance of bringing quality development to this community. And also, we know the importance of giving back to our citizens. We've had so many festivals this year. I think we're wearing our recreation staff out. It seems as though every quarter we have a major event that is free of charge. This Friday night will be our Halloween hijinks down at the Civic Center. An opportunity for all the kids in the community to get copious amounts of sugar so the parents can then deal with that afterwards. So not only have I been part of bringing a more positive Rialto, a more committed Rialto, I have the ability to continue to make those tough decisions. And it won't be easy for the next 4 years. We just barely are getting to the good part. So 4 more years, maybe we'll be at the best part, and then we'll all be proud that we made the right choices at the election box and continue on so that Rialto continues to be a community that people choose to live in and choose to develop in. Just as an aside, I wasn't exaggerating about the impact that the community is having at the Economic Development Conference. Also, when I was interviewed by a group of builders in Rancho Cucamonga, they were saying, you know, Rialto's the place we all want to come now. And I said, yes, silently to myself. To them, I just answered, well, of course, where else would you go but Rialto? So thank you all.
It's not what it is about what one person, myself or anybody else, does as a council member. It's about teamwork. It's about working as a team. And I can tell you that the time that I was on the city council, there were some pretty good teams there. They got a lot done. The 210 freeway, perfect example. One of the best landscape freeways in the entire 210 system, by the way. The council worked very hard on that. The in and out. I worked on the in and out since 1996. Councilmember Baca and I went and negotiated the in and out deal. And we got some criticism for it, but it was a good deal for the city. Well, look at what's going on up there now, and that's due to the rest of the council. So it's teamwork. It's about working together as a team. And that's not just the city council team. The city council is here to answer to you, the community, not the community answering to the city council. So you're part of that team. And when we hear something from you that needs to be done, that you want done, we should respond and get it done. We've got a lot of great commissioners in this city that work very hard, and they work for free. They get no compensation, they get nothing, and they're probably some of the most productive people in our city. So my hat's off to our commissioners. But again, it's about teamwork. The Walmart, as I said, it's been 12 years since that project came on board. It's just now getting ready to happen. The Renaissance is over 8 years ago, just now getting ready to move forward. The Lytle Creek project is probably in reality 12, 15 years. Who knows when it's going to happen? But it's, again, about teamwork, good city councils, good commissioners, and good employees.
As a commissioner of 20 years for Park and Recs, we've done a tremendous job in the city for the residents. We made sure that our parks are in compliance. We made sure that some of the amenities are there within budget. The last thing we really did at the center was room 101 that you can all use now. We put $800,000 in that particular center. But you know something? when the engineer came to the commission, I told him, you want to put a smile on my face, you make sure you're within budget and on time. So we had him meet with us, and sure enough, at the end of the project, he was on time, and he was $40,000 under budget. So I will continue to be on the same path that I've always been, and that is to represent the citizens of Rialto and make sure that the money goes in the right spots for the citizens of Rialto. And that's all I've ever wanted. To be a good steward, to be your steward, to be your guy in City Hall that you can count on and make sure that the Republic doesn't run away or run amok with your money. So I'm always there, and I'm always an advocate for the citizens. And I'll always be there. I haven't changed. Thank you.
Thank you for waking me up. Okay, let's see, who was, Lynn, Hirtz, we started with the last, right? This previous question.
I think we started with
You have
Okay,
questions
I'm sorry.
to specific people?
Yes, but we still have some all candidate questions here. Most of the individual questions are all for Mr. Scott. So let me start with a general question, and they're asking for just a yes or no answer. And the question is, do you support Measure U? Yes or no?
Well, that's easy. Yes.
Mr. Scott.
I support the concept of Measure U. I don't support Measure U as it's written. I think there's a number of issues with it. One is, the answer is no, not as it's written.
Yes.
Yes, me and my family already voted for it, so definitely yes.
So here we go. This question specifically to Mr. Scott. The last few years, you said you served on city council. The city did not have a balanced budget and overspent millions of dollars. You cut me off. It's okay. And overspent millions of dollars. A balanced budget was achieved after you left office. How can we trust that you will achieve a balanced budget if elected this time?
Well, once again, the budget is about a team. It's not about a specific council member. It's about a team that works together and balances the budget. And the current budget that is supposedly balanced is as a result of a lot of work done for a lot of years. And that mostly includes labor unions and employees taking reductions, giving stuff back to the city, and frankly, working with the city. While I was on the council, I worked with those labor groups, police and fire, public safety, obviously is a huge chunk of our budget. And I worked with them to get them to make concessions to the city. That's why the budget is balanced now. Additionally, you got a $30 million windfall off the water deal that has helped to balance that budget.
You hold your comments, please.
Thank you. Once again, balancing the budget isn't about one single council member. It's about the entire council. It's about staff. Staff hasn't changed much in Rialto. Mr. Story's been there. I was one of the ones that helped put Mr. Story in place. That was one of the best things we did, was to get the former city administrator out of here, who I would hold accountable for a budget that wasn't balanced, because he was giving huge salary increases to management after the utility tax passed the first time.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Okay, next question is for all candidates, and we'll start with Mr. Britt. Have you considered a library media center to be incorporated in the Renaissance Rialto plan? Moving library currently at Carter High to its own site, comparable to Fontana's library and a library in Rancho Cucamonga, all made possible through Lewis Developers.
To increase the size of our library that we have here, it would be an excellent choice if we can ever get over there. And if they can bill it to our specs and to what the citizens want. Anything to educate our kids, anything to educate the people in Rialto would be a plus. I love the look of Fontana. They really have done a great job over there. So if we could do something better than Fontana, under budget and within budget, I'm all good for it. So it's a goal with me if the plans are right. We can't spend $10 million on the library. I would like it to be within budget, something that we can afford, citizens can afford in Rialto. And hopefully we can get the unions to get in and have people working at a living wage job to put that in. So I'm for it. Anything to put Rialto on the forefront, to make Rialto good and to educate the citizens at the same time and make us look good in the process. Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm for it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think that's a really good question, but I want to take a step back. If you look at our current library, one of the things we were able to do is I took a look at the library that we had, and there was wasted space in there. So one of the things we were able to do in the city of Rialto is use the wasted space. Our current library, we added a resource room with computers that's being used every day because you've got a lot of poor families that don't have computers at home. It's giving them the amenities they need. Also, they have a boardroom where they do crafts and a lot of activities. So those are additions that we've made over the last 4 years. It was a partnership that we had with the county library. In regards to the Carter Library and having what Lewis Hillwood did, well, the current plan that was approved with big boxes, it's not going to happen. I'll be honest with you. Unless we put and hold their feet to the fire and says, look, this is what we want. In regards to Rancho Cucamonga and Fontana, they did raise a lot of private dollars. I'm willing to make that a priority. I think that's very, very important. Literacy for our families, places for our families to go and read, and computer resource centers. But it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of money, and how we do that, we could make that part of our plan. Because one of the things that developers are required to pay is fees, and some of that goes towards library expansion. I think we need to make sure that we hold them accountable. But the plan as it's approved now, with just all those big boxes and industrial, it's never going to happen unless we get them to come back and change that plan and add that to it. I think that's important that we do that. But good libraries are always important. You go to affluent communities, you go to nice communities, they have libraries and resource centers for our families. But I think it's a good point. It's a very good question. And I think those are the types of questions we need to hear from the community. I mean, us as council members or people up here running for office, you know, we can have ideas and plans, but we need your input. We need more of that input. And I think that's a very good question. So thank you for asking.
Thank you, sir. I've been involved in the Friends of the Rialto Library for not as long as it's been alive, but pretty much 30 plus years. I have been involved with my Rotary Club in the newly refurbished library. We refurbished the children's room. We do a project with our library every single year to try and make it the best that it can be in the circumstance that it is. I recently attended a play at the Victoria Gardens, and they have a great little playhouse there. But you know what I learned? That was, yes, it's very, very expensive, and it's connected to their library, beautiful facility, donations, Britt, Lewis Hillwood. So after we get some basic development out there, absolutely we should go for a library and a performing arts center. But we have to look at it as not something that is a burden or a responsibility of the citizens. It's a responsibility of big business who've made their living from Rialto all these years to be good stewards to this community and help us to achieve that goal. You can pick up easily paperwork over there at that little theater, and it lists the service clubs, but frankly, service clubs don't give that kind of money, but the big businesses around, and those are people that do business here in Rialto. So yes, let's have that as a goal for our Renaissance project. I'm all for it.
I think the example of the Fontana Library is is perfect. That library was built basically through donations from the Lewis Corporation. Lewis Corporation is also the developer doing the Renaissance project. There's nothing wrong with us as a community asking those developers to provide us with those kind of amenities, nothing whatsoever. We tend to put fees on developers for various things, sewer, water, schools. School district tells developers where they want a school, what size of school they want, and what kind of school they want. There's nothing wrong with us partnering with the school district and the county and asking for a library and a performing arts facility to be built up to the Renaissance. I think that's a great idea. Too many times we as a community and as a city have been so anxious to get a development in that we haven't asked for what we needed to ask for. And it's those kinds of amenities. It's just like parks. Councilmember Baca and I, when we were going through the process on the Lido Creek project, we were very specific in wanting park facilities that would be large enough to deal with our community. And those facilities are in that plan. They're not being paid for by the city either, because that's one of the things that you have to be careful for. It's like the senior center. This is one of the great jewels of this city, but it's a lot of money for maintenance. You've got to figure a way to be able to pay for that maintenance after you build it. And that frankly should be on the backs of developers.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to closing statements now. And it's in reverse order of the opening statements. You have 1 minute, and we start with Mr. Baca.
Yeah, once again, I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to come here. I think it's a great group. Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Give them a round of applause. I think it was a pretty tame board. There's no punching here tonight, so everyone's pretty tame. But I think it was a good idea to hear your questions. One of the things about Rialto, we have a very diverse community. We've got a great community. We've got a lot of people that care. I think it's important that we're good representation of it, that we represent everybody. And that's what I always strive to do, is represent everybody, do the best I can to represent all of you. And it's important that you hold our feet to the fire. If you've got things you want us to do, you need to let us know, talk to us, communicate with us. Communication is very important. Partnerships is important with the county, West Valley Water District, also with the city, the Rialto School District, developing those partnerships and fostering those relationships. With good relationships, we can get a lot done. And I would be honored to have your support in November. Some of you may have voted already. Hopefully I had your support, but I'd love to have your support on election day, and just want to wish all of my colleagues up here good luck, and thank you for your time. God bless you.
You know, I think the Sun newspaper put it very appropriately. There are 4 good candidates running for city council in Rialto. Not every city can say that. In fact, most cities can't say that. Everybody up here I've known for a long time. I've probably known Lynn for 20 years, 25 years. Joe I've known for probably 15 years. This young man right here, I knew him since he was 17, I think. But I've known them all, and I love and respect each and every one of them. They're good people. We are all good people. This election is just simply about your choice as a voter and who you believe can help move the city forward and who can do the best job. That's what it's about. It's not about one person being better than the other. It's just about 4 good people who love the city and who you're going to vote for. And I also want to thank these individuals up here for holding and running a very good campaign and not a dirty campaign. I really appreciate that.
Good citizens, thank you, Joe. Good citizens of Rialto, thank you for coming out tonight. You know, I come to you a humble man. I come to you a humble man standing on the shoulders of my ancestors. And I come to you a humble man, a reflection of God's grace and goodness. Look, yes, we do have 4 great folk. We all know each other, so it's up to you to make that choice. It's up to you to say, well, I guess he'll do better based on what he's done in the past, or she'll do better based on what she's done in the past. We'll all work for you. Me? Of course I work for you. I have always worked for you. I would never stop not working for you, regardless of what happens on November 4th. But when November 4th comes here, I'm hoping that you make the right choice and choose me to be your next council person. Really appreciate it. Thank you. God bless.
Well, thank you for giving up Monday Night Football. I know for some of you that must have been a real stretch. At least we didn't have to give up the World Series tonight. So that was good planning by the Chamber and the Women's Club. So I'm number one on your ballot, and I hope I'm your number one choice. In a year and a half, I've helped move the city forward in ways that it hasn't moved in a number of years. I didn't do it by myself. I did it because I can work with a council and a mayor and a staff to bring about a better community for all of you. I love this community. I appreciate all of the work that is done by the volunteers in this community. I'll work to better relationships with the school district because we need to foster our youth in this community. We need to remember our senior citizens. They have so many valuable assets to offer us, and we need to always think of them. So I just want to say, number one on your ballot, number one in your hearts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to remind you that there is refreshments to my right while we change the panel for the next candidates. Again, a round of applause for our candidates.